On the right, we see Ayrton Senna. Yellow flags being waved, the green flag. This is a real motor race, and Eddie, it's good to see it, isn't it?
What on earth happened there? I don't know. Whether it was a sudden loss of downforce for some reason, but Senna is still in the car.
Formula One had always accepted danger as the price of speed. Then, one weekend changed everything. 3 days, 2 drivers lost, one sport transformed for good. Formula One survived that weekend. It never became the same sport again. The sport that thought it was safe.
Senna's looking for, and he's going through, out! Oh my goodness, that attack, because Senna has got everything to gain and nothing to lose.
By 1994, Formula One had gone 12 years without a single fatality during a race weekend, since Riccardo Paletti's death at the 1982 Canadian Grand Prix. Cars had become safer through the 1980s. Circuits had been modified. A decade of confidence had settled over the paddock. Drivers, teams, and fans had quietly come to believe the worst of the sport's dangerous history was behind it.
Yes, Ayrton Senna achieves his ambition to win the Brazilian Grand Prix, but another lap or two, and I think he would not have done so.
Ayrton Senna had just moved to Williams, the dominant team of the era, and entered the season as the biggest name in the sport. A 3-time champion expected to challenge for a 4th title against the young Michael Schumacher. Almost nobody believed Formula One was about to lose another driver. Imola's Tamburello corner was one of the fastest on the calendar. A long, sweeping curve taken at well over 300 kilometers an hour, with almost no runoff area between the track and the unprotected concrete wall lining its outer edge. The corner had already caught out 2 previous champions, Gerhard Berger in 1989 and Nelson Piquet in 1987, both of whom survived. The circuit demanded absolute perfection at the worst possible speed for any mistake to be forgiven. Friday's warning.
Rubens Barrichello goes off at the Variante Bassa. Teammate Eddie Irvine describes how Rubens caught the tyre wall to the anxious Jordan 3.
Friday, April 29th, first qualifying. Rubens Barrichello, Senna's protégé, then driving for Jordan, clipped a curb at the Variante Bassa chicane at 225 kilometers an hour and was launched into the air, striking the top of a tyre barrier with an impact later measured at 95 G.
Caught the very top of the last maybe row or something, you know, the last one, and then that sort of threw him like this, and it hit the wall, and then the whole side came off it, and then it rolled a couple of times, but his head never hit anything.
He was knocked unconscious, his tongue blocking his airway. FIA doctor Sid Watkins worked quickly to save him. Senna left his own car and went straight to the scene, staying until he knew Barrichello would be all right. He suffered a broken nose and bruising, and would leave hospital able to watch the rest of the weekend from home. Most race weekends would have stopped there, shaken but relieved. Imola was only getting started. Saturday broke Formula One.
Badeur holding everybody else off, and Villeneuve side bangs into the 40 car of Luca Badeur. Badeur up in the air, well.
Saturday, April 30th, second qualifying. 18 minutes in, Austrian rookie Roland Ratzenberger, on his very first full Formula One season, at 33 years old after 15 years working his way up through racing, went off track at a chicane and damaged his front wing. On the following lap, approaching the high-speed Villeneuve curve, the damaged wing failed completely. With no front downforce and his brakes rendered useless, his Simtech struck the concrete barrier almost head-on at roughly 314 kilometers an hour. He suffered fatal injuries and was pronounced dead a short time later. It was the sport's first fatality during a race weekend in 12 years. Sid Watkins later recalled Senna breaking down in tears on his shoulder when he learned the news, and gently suggesting Senna consider stepping back from racing altogether. Senna's reply, according to Watkins, was that there were things in life beyond anyone's control, and that he had to go on. Qualifying resumed after a 48-minute delay. Several teams, including Williams and Benetton, chose not to take any further part out of respect. The worst day of the weekend hadn't even started. A Formula One front wing generates a significant portion of a car's aerodynamic downforce, particularly through high-speed corners. When a wing fails entirely at speed, a driver doesn't just lose grip gradually, they lose it all at once, with no warning and almost no time to react. What looks like a minor knock from a curb earlier in a lap can, under the right conditions, become a catastrophic failure moments later. Formula One had just been reminded that at 300 kilometers an hour, even the smallest mistake can become irreversible. Sunday.
As ever, is going to be vital here. There are 6 very, very good men in the first 3 rows. Ayrton Senna in pole position.
By traffic and back markers at the start of the race, but the impact, the force of the impact was colossal.
Sunday, May 1st. The race began under a noticeably sombre mood across the paddock. The start itself brought further danger. A collision between Pedro Lamy and JJ Leto sent debris into the grandstands, injuring several spectators and brought out the safety car for 5 laps. When racing resumed, Senna led from pole with Schumacher close behind. On lap 7, approaching Tamburello, Senna's car ran straight off the racing line and struck the unprotected concrete wall at over 200 kilometers an hour.
What on earth happened there? I don't know. Whether it was a sudden loss of downforce for some reason, but Senna is still in the car.
The race was red flagged. Medical staff worked at the scene for over half an hour. Senna was airlifted to hospital in Bologna. That evening, doctors announced that he had died of his injuries, though it later emerged, through the same kind of post-mortem evidence found in Ratzenberger's case, that the injury itself had very likely been instantaneous. Decades later, investigators still debate the precise cause. What is certain is what was lost. Formula One didn't just lose its greatest driver that weekend. It lost its confidence. Nothing after Imola would ever quite feel the same. Formula One changes.
On the right, we see Ayrton Senna. Yellow flag being waved. The green flag is now being waved.
Formula One's response wasn't measured in words. Within days, the conversation inside Formula One had completely changed. Winning was no longer the only priority. Survival was. The Grand Prix Drivers' Association, dormant for over a decade, reformed within days, with Senna's own seat on its founding board, filled in spirit by the urgency his death created. FIA President Max Mosley pushed for an immediate program to slow the cars down, while longer-term safety research accelerated under figures like Sid Watkins and the sport's own engineers. Imola's Tamburello corner, the scene of crashes for Berger, Piquet, and now Senna, was rebuilt entirely, turned from a high-speed curve into a much slower chicane. The 1994 circuit layout, in place since 1981, was never used in Formula One again. Circuit design across the sport shifted toward larger runoff areas everywhere a car might leave the track at speed. Formula One didn't honour Imola with speeches, it honoured it by changing. Much of what protects a modern Formula One driver traces directly back to that weekend. The HANS device, head and neck support, had existed since the 1980s, but was pushed toward mandatory use specifically because of the basilar skull fracture that killed Ratzenberger, a type of injury the device was built to prevent. Stronger survival cells, more rigorous crash testing, and far larger runoff areas all followed in the years after. These weren't random inventions. They were answers to a specific weekend nobody wanted to repeat. The legacy.
And a big fire there as they exited out of turn three, and that looks very nasty indeed. There's the initial content. That's where the car then is upside down onto the gravel, and then it flips.
For 20 years after Imola, no driver died during a Formula One race weekend, until Jules Bianchi's fatal accident at the 2014 Japanese Grand Prix. But the protection built in response to 1994 has saved lives the sport rarely has to mourn. In 2020, Romain Grosjean's car split in half and burst into flames at nearly 200 kilometers an hour in Bahrain. He climbed out of the fire himself, badly burned but alive, protected by a survival cell and a halo device that simply did not exist in Senna and Ratzenberger's era. In 2022, Zhou Guanyu's car flipped, was launched over a tyre wall and skidded upside down along a catch fence at Silverstone. He walked away. Many of these modern crashes would very likely have ended differently before 1994. Every driver who walks away from a violent Formula One crash today carries part of Imola's legacy. What the weekend left behind. Formula One still celebrates speed. It still celebrates courage. But after Imola, it stopped believing that danger simply had to be accepted as the cost of doing business. Every stronger chassis, every redesigned circuit, every halo, every driver who climbs out of a violent crash today and walks back to the garage exists because one terrible weekend forced Formula One to change. The race weekend ended decades ago. Its legacy never did. What do you think was the most important safety change to come out of Imola 1994? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing. There are many more incredible stories from Formula One history still to come.